envy you sometimes. How many flame have you dispatched?
I don't count. It's enough they no longer draw breath.
One thing I'll give blood over iron. They're willing to look their enemies in the face.
I'd rather look my enemy straight in the back.
Why do we let other races interfere in char matters? It makes us look weak. And there are humans in those groups. Humans.
Use any resource I can to defeat the flame.
It's good to be back down south. We're here in Mount Maelstrom once again at the same packed encampment, Gauntlet Waypoint. What's the actual one called? Gallant's Folly. Where we learned a little bit about Sickox before, and after a grueling trek south once again, we are ready to report our findings to Traherne on the event of the unfortunate disaster where many of our own guys were shelled. Now, I've seen some of you guys in the comments have said, hey, I'm not sure about that story step because it feels like it should be a bigger deal than it is in the end. We should get in more trouble. But I kind of feel like if we have been deceived here, if there is mesmer magic involved here, I'm sort of okay that there's not some massive fallout on our part because it's infiltration and it's kind of not on us. But I wonder where you guys land on that. In any case, you'll notice we're also in range of this meta event here, Toil for the Coil, which will be referenced a little bit by some of these NPCs in the area, but we are not going to worry about, for now, this thing, the Infinity Coil. Whatever the Inquest are doing, Tyrix has more important things on his mind. So yeah, let's head on south, just before the sun sets, actually. Today is going to be really special, guys. Today, 74 parts into the series, we're about to find the Deadlands. Today, as long as everything goes well here, we will get our first glimpses of that fated final region. And it's going to be pretty exciting. I don't know, this whole series has been building on an adventure towards that region of the world. And it feels like a big breakpoint and a big checkpoint for us to finally be so close to it. I mean, we're still pretty much inland interior right now, but we'll see how things go. Moving forward, there's some cool little things in this area of the world, mostly just quite relaxed. You've got spiders coming down from the trees as we run through. I love this pool here where you can see that there are lots of pink moa bathing and things. If we were a ranger, we could perhaps interact with them a little bit more. But also, the first player that walks to this pool also can spawn this creature here. And this is a very special thing in Mount Maelstrom, this map. It's called a Keeper of Waves. And it's a giant crab. So this is not to do with the Risen, it's not to do with the Inquest, it's not necessarily anything but nature. And it's a beautiful thing. See, the thing with this map, Mount Maelstrom, and that actually makes it one of my favorite maps in the game, even if it's not a special kind of Steam Spur inspired thing, is it's kind of heavily elemental oriented, it feels like to me. Like, quarter of the map is very jungly, quarter of the map is very fiery because of the volcano, another quarter is kind of watery, and then there's another quarter that's kind of technology oriented because the Inquest are there. And I think it's really quite beautiful. There's a lot of events and stories and things here that also seem to be to do with the elements, and this is really the big one. Around the map, if you go to special locations, you can find creatures that spawn keepers of the various elements. This was the Keeper of Water. Somewhere else you find, for example, the Keeper of Winds, and it's an elemental creature that looks like a moa. You find, various keepers. There's a Keeper of Fire near the volcano. When you defeat the keepers, it opens a mysterious portal. Now, this portal and these events did not exist right when Guild Wars 2 came out. They were actually sneakily and quietly added with the first Halloween update, which was just a few weeks after actual launch. So it was a thing where the devs put a lot of effort into these new quests and things in the game, but most players didn't notice because they weren't really documented in patch notes, and most people were distracted by Halloween. So the devs really stopped doing updates like that, and it's always been a little bit upsetting to me that we don't see more random additions come into the core world, because this was really fantastic. If you check it out, the mysterious portal we can interact with, it says a mysterious portal swirls in front of you. We can enter it. Are you sure? It may be dangerous. And we load, still in Mount Maelstrom, but to a very different area. This is the Deirdre Steps. Look at this. And so what you guys are actually looking at is, I think, for the first time in this series, an area of the world that was added after release. And so it's extremely beautiful. Like, all the talents the environment designers and developers accrued over their time releasing the base game. You know, they can sit on, they can chew on. There's not necessarily so much crunch with this, and then they can put it all to good use and create this beautiful thing. It's amazing. I have a Let's Play on my channel for a game called Azuric, which is all about the elements as well, and this just makes me think of that. It's basically a giant adventure jumping puzzle type area, which, guess what? Yes, is detailed on the playlist I've talked about a million times. But the idea is in the roots of the trees, you can find all these big elemental earth elementals. There's like a watery waterfall area with a cluster of waves that you got to collect. You got to travel all around until eventually you climb to the very top of the tree. It's amazing, and there's multiple different entrances based on which keeper you kill to get here. Really cool. And yeah, I showed you on the map. We're actually in just a weird area right now, actually, completely off the side of Mount Maelstrom. I love little expansions and stuff like this. And yeah, since we're passing it on the route to Trajan, I thought I'd show it to you guys. If we enter the portal, we may not be able to return. And yeah, those portals aren't always available. It's kind of contingent on whether you can kill the Keeper. As you can see now that I've returned, the portal isn't here anymore, and neither's the Keeper. So we'd have to find one of the other Keepers to regain access. Truly, truly, truly beautiful aspect of the game. And one of my favorite things about Mount Maelstrom in general. Just another reason why I love this map so much. Anyway, we've got important things to deal with. Look at our story journal. Look at all the detail that goes into this this step on fixing the blame. There's so much here. Siska's former partner in crime, Ignavus, was only too happy to send word to Trajan on our behalf. He hoped that in helping me would count in his favor if his black market weapon deals ever came to light. But my only concern was protecting Trajan and the pack from the imposter's illusory attacks. I set out to Oxbow Isle so that I can talk to Trajan face to face. And we really are going to be... He seems very busy. He's done a lot of stuff. And yeah, this is important enough, I think. There seems to be something really mysterious going on. We kind of feel like it's an imposter, yes. Siska died. She was a bit of a shady character. Some third party got its fingers on the situation and started pretending to be Siska, who's somewhere in this region, by the way. And so the question is, who is that third party? But the weird hint is, a lot of those Mesmer's illusions looked undead. Now, is that meaningful? Well, I guess we'll see. Here's the next packed base. And here, for example, this scout will talk a lot about the Inquest nearby. We may as well just have a sneaky listen. What's going on?
The Inquest are up to something devious. They set up a satellite research lab to the south that regularly sends new data to their main complex up north. The Order of Whisper sent a detachment south to slow the Inquest's progress. And now all three orders are gathering in Gallant's Folly up north to march on the Crucible of Eternity. They could use some help, if you're up for it.
Now, that term, Crucible of Eternity, sounds pretty badass and interesting, doesn't it? It may interest you guys to hear that there are 3 novels set in the Guild Wars universe. There is the earliest one in the timeline, The Sea of Sorrows, to do with the founding of Lion's Arch, the flooding of Lion's Arch, and so on. There's a novel set 5 years ago called Edge of Destiny, to do with Ritlock and co. And then there's a novel called Ghosts of Ascalon, which is very recent, like 2 years ago, or even 1 year ago, to deal with the initiation of the peace treaties and so on we saw at Ebonhawk. 3 novels. Did you know that one of the novels in development was originally going to be about completely different subject material, and it was going to be called The Crucible of Eternity? Yeah, interesting stuff, huh? Well, I'll leave that hanging for a while. We do have the entrance to an instance here. If you have a look over on the dock, there's a pretty cool little machine there at Oxbow Isle. We can ask this War Master Elena about. I don't know many folks who'd willingly come to Oxbow Isle with Risen, Crate, and a brutal jungle. It's not a kindly rest stop. And what about the combo of Risen Crate? Well, can you tell me about this little fort? Well, we were a supply port before the Crate started sinking our ships. Now we rely on small ships to smuggle goods past their territory. So, yes, there are Crate nearby. Crate living here. Look at this. The Maya Sea. This is a massive Crate stronghold, a deep set up by the Crate. We haven't interacted with them very much recently, but you might be astounded to realize that Crate live here, and large numbers of them, despite the fact that there are Risen all over the place. How are the Crates surviving amongst so much Risen and undead? I mean, all along these shores, all along here, all the way up here. This is a horrible Risen bog. All Risen here. These swamps I've alluded to before. And then it's like, oh, it's how? How do the Risen do that? Well, maybe before the end we will find a little bit of something out. How are our land operations then? She says, we're trying to keep the Risen out of Timberline Falls, but we're failing. Yeah, we've seen. We came from Timberline. No matter, we'll continue to fight until our last breath. I love this mention of the logistics of one map affecting the other. Makes the game feel really cohesive. And then we can say, wait, is that a submarine over there? It is, she says. The Char are nothing if not genius when it comes to steel. Our submarines mostly used for emergency evacuations. Well, these claws were made for steel. see you. I love this. That might be because we are a child we get that response. Look at this, and yes, that we get the Iron Barracuda technology enough months down the line being employed by the pack. Lightbringer Genevieve here says, tread carefully there. The beat of your footsteps on the planks could attract either undead or crates. We've got both of those in these waters. Well, they sound dangerous. You said it. That's why we need the sub here. It's ready to go at a moment's notice if any of our agents need picked up or brought safely to shore. Keep up the good work. And I like to imagine that it's on a sub escort or route that the MVP Traherne perhaps gets to meet us at this little camp. Camp, sorry. One final guy, Agent Peter. I finally get assigned to the field, and this is where they stick me. I was hoping I'd get to sneak around the Black Citadel, or maybe bandit hideouts. If I find you near the Citadel, I'll eat you. Look at these char responses. This is great, guys. Yeah, the char eating people. Love it. I love every time they do a little hint of that. Okay, so let's head on in, marshalling the truth. Get to the bottom of this. Traherne, we got a lot to tell you, and I hope you believe me. Okay, so what we got? We got some Whispers char. That's a cool little outfit. Maybe we should set that up, even though we never joined Whispers. That looks cool. I love like the feathers on his head. Got Lightbringer here. Hello? Anybody around? Well, it looks like we've got Traherne down here near the sub. What did I say? I mean, come on, this totally fits. Hey, dudes, you're real, right? Please? Please, are you real? I guess we'll tell if he's just a dick to us straight away.
I got your message, Commander. You have my attention. What's so dire that it demands a face-to-face meeting?
Thanks for trusting me. I believe that a pact officer named Siska has been compromised by the enemy.
I know Siska. She filed an angry report about how you gave the order for mortar teams to fire on her soldiers.
I believe that's part of the setup. Someone used illusions to trick me into giving the order to fire. When I looked into Siska's background, it led me into another mesmer trap. There was even a fake version of you. I think Siska's behind it. All I ask is that you look into it.
I'll investigate. Your instincts have proven reliable so far. Come, walk with me while I gather my thoughts.
All right, I think it's Traherne. Hey, dude. So, we're going to survey this camp with Traherne.
I spoke with Siska in the field hospital. She seemed entirely normal.
Did she? Yeah, well, we never really suspected anything before.
If illusions are part of this problem, we're probably facing a powerful mesmer. That would also explain the false version of me you mentioned. But why? If it's Siska, what does she hope to gain by separating you from the Pact?
Or is it about me, or is it about you?
Wait, that's an Orion Eagle. Why is it here, so far from Orr?
Oh god, okay, so we get a fight. By the way, who doesn't love the rain here? It's so ambient as the sun's setting. Okay, so a Risen Eagle. One thing I will applaud this instance as being very good for is based on whether you hunt down the backstory for Siska and go back to Ascalon, or go to the volcano and deal with her team. The dialogue in this instance actually quite heftily changes. It's really cool. So more than most of the time in the game. So if you guys, well, to those of you guys who are playing along with me in this series, maybe make the other choice so you can really get a very nice branch at this point in the story. But yeah, here, so look, check it out. A Risen Eagle, and it's from Orr. So we're even seeing just ambient stuff. I mean, it's quite a journey it's gone on. But the idea that this might be used as a scout.
Stay alert. If that was some kind of scout, our mesmer enemy may have more surprises for us.
It was, oh god, and speaking of Risen Crate, where they're being sent at us.
Down!
Ready for anything!
I got you, Traherne. Don't worry, we never stop being rallied to you. I guess other people kind of need to. Yeah, I love the idea of like an Orion scout like that. The game does those kinds of things a little bit. It always makes me think of Lord of the Rings. Come on. But I'm sure that Lord of the Rings wasn't the first time we saw stuff like that in fantasy literature. It's just awesome, right? It's cool to think that you can have undead thralls and things posing as nondescript ambient creatures that scout, and especially birds that have got this great vast view of terrain, and they can just look down and move so quickly and report what they see so quickly through magic. It's really, really, really creepy. And I just love that other sign as well of the influence of Orr, the actual territories of Orr being so close to us here. Many of these Risen crates will be crates that were killed in the waters around Orr. We know that there are surviving living crates out in the water near here, but I will show you the water routes in a second that Zaitan potentially can get to us here. It is a dangerous place. The NPCs weren't joking about it, and you can see why they'd need stuff like subs to get in and out very quickly. game kind of does 3 very big different branches at this point in the story, and it kind of feels like each is almost themed after an order without explicitly being so. And this one is to do with intelligence and sneakiness and skullduggery, and there's loads of Order of Whispers characters here. It almost feels like this is a Whispers-themed instance.
Status report.
No casualties. Minimal damage to the camp.
Good. What's going on?
Undead grubs, Marshal. They're tunneling into the camp.
Which is kind of cool that we get to do it on Tyrix, who actually joined the vigil. Alright, even more mobs, so grubs burrowing up around us. Of course, we should be no stranger to this now. Zaitan burrowed in beneath the vigil headquarters and attacked Almora there while we were dealing with the outside. He seems to have domain over, like, burrowing and stuff. I can imagine Primordus with his destroyers kind of rolling in their graves a little, if you will, just being annoyed that Zaitan is doing things that are really his forte. But on the other hand, you might imagine that Zaitan can just use the raw flesh and biomass of his minions to just slam into rock and walls and just stab their ways through it, like through brute force. But it's nothing like what Primordus can do. Primordus is so much deeper down and commands the very rock and lava itself. And that's a cool distinction maybe between the 2 different Elder Dragons. One, of course, being much more close and evident to us than the other, lurking way, way, way lower. And potentially a lot scarier too, since Primordus woke up a long time ago, and Zaitan a little bit more recently.
Look, there, off the coast, an Orion ship. Prepare the mortars. Activate that ship.
Oh, yeah. There it is, baby. And what's a beautiful thing that they do in this instance is it all started with us messing up with mortars, and we got to use them here now. So we can get on the mortar. It will try and siege us. We can turn it left. We can turn it right. We can fire and hold. It acts a lot like the Trebs. This is, of course, not our first undead ship. That one is quite far away. But this time, instead of using Trebs and catapults, we're going to blow it up with mortar fire. And we actually physically do damage to the thing. There you go, as you can see. So do our allies as well, but their mortars are much less powerful than ours are, I guess. Risen will come and attack us. Hopefully, Traherne and co can deal with them. And down it goes. Brilliant.
Only a fool would not see that the deeper we dig into the Siska question, the more danger we face. You've been the primary focus of these attacks so far, but it's clear that I am the real target.
That fits. If you can't trust me, or I'm dead, you lose your second in command. It makes you and the pack more vulnerable.
And if the Mesmer is out to disrupt the pack's chain of command, Zaitan's forces must be planning a major assault. Fort Trinity is the most likely target. Conquering it now would be a huge setback to the Pact. We can't risk that. I'm calling in our forces. Meet me in Fort Trinity, and we'll prepare for Zaitan's minions.
Whoa, here it is, guys! Fort Trinity! We've heard so much about it, and the battle for Fort Trinity begins. Report to Traherne at Fort Trinity. So, he has surmised from this. It's a bit of a weak supposition there, but maybe he's got more information that he's witnessed through other organizations and activities within the Pact at the moment that has tipped him off that maybe some kind of giant attack is occurring. Now, I don't even think we get to speak to Traherne at the end of the mission. I think the idea is he immediately... Oh, no, here he is. He says, we'll deal with Siska in due course, but the Pact is facing an even more pressing threat. Meet me at Fort Trinity and I'll brief you there. Okay, is Siska targeting our headquarters too? We have to assume so. Zaitan is determined to destroy the Pact, and it'll use every weapon it has. If Mesmer magic is among those weapons, we must be ready for it. So here's the thing, guys. There isn't really a third party. It's Zaitan. I know we don't really think of it. We just think of zombies and we just think of forces of nature and just pure aggression. But as Zaitan captures and corrupts things, as the Pale Tree told us, it learns what they know. That's how it knew where the Order of Whispers headquarter was. That's how it knew the strength that the Vigil was gaining. That's how it knows about the artifacts that the Dermot Priory had. And it goes for the throat because of the knowledge it gets through raising more minions. And so if it corrupts and, transforms Mesmers, in Undeath, those Mesmers will be able to utilize that magic. Remember Duzin Stormbreak we destroyed very recently as we were creating the Pact, as we got the role of Pact Commander as Traherne officially properly became Marshal. That was a Risen Lich that was talking about commanding the elements. It was an Elementalist in life of Ore, and in Death it retained those capabilities. So what kind of subterfuge and backstabbing could Zaitan accomplish with elite Mesmers on his side. That's what we've been dealing with. That's why the illusions were undead. And it's really, really, really creepy. Especially the idea that there's like this phantasm that follows us and lurks over our shoulder and sticks to our mind on a huge adventure to the north up in Ascalon. Oh, it's brilliant. I really, really like it. We have to assume so. So, what can he do if we're creating this huge thing? We could have Mesmers infiltrating anywhere. What else can we expect? He says anything and everything. While we've been developing our attack strategy, Zhaitan has been preparing an all-out assault to stop us from ever employing it. Then we'll be ready for anything. I'll see you here. So you see the story steps called the Battle for Fort Trinity? That's phrased in a very specific way. Very often in Guild Wars 2, there's like the battle for Claw Island, or the battle for Ascalon City, or the battle for blah, blah, blah. We won't spoil things in the future. But whenever it does that, this is like a big moment in both games, Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. So you can tell something is really heating up here. And we've never even seen Fort Trinity yet. So, yeah, that's about that. Let's get on out. And let's see if we can get there. That's our adventures in Mount Maelstrom concluded for now, despite these various other mysteries that they've been nodding towards. I guess what I will do here, guys, is I will see you at the bridge we did the initial mortar shelling from. First, I'll head to Firebreak Fort, and then head south. It's gloomy and still night. I'll see you soon.
Stop.
Alright, so back near the bridge, it's just around that corner. You can actually see that there's a Whispers base that's set up here. Or a Pact base, I should say, because look, we've got what appears to be Prior and Whispers together. Abnormal necrotic fluctuations, check. Cool but disturbing breeze, check. Unnatural silence, check. No doubt about it, the undead are near. This won't be fun. What's going on? Anything I can do? Lorentha could use assistance in her war against the undead. You can find the creatures just over the edge, in the marsh below. Got anything to help fight him? Well, I threw together some golems on my way here. They've probably overheated and shut down by now, but they're easy to fix. You'll see them on your way to the swamp. What about weapons for me? Well, the last group of adventurers charged in swords blazing, but not you. You want to be prepared. I like that. Well, I might have what you're looking for, friend. And we've got all these different gadgets here we can try. The Ice Laser 1440, the Flame Blaster 250, or tell me about Sylvari weapons. I'm no botanist. All I know is that they're turrets. Lorentha can tell you more. Okay, thank you. So yeah, this is a heart, and these guys will gear you out in means to take out some of the undead nearby. These lands are plagued by corruption and undeath. The plants I've scattered in the swamp below will help the land retaliate against this evil. How will they do that? They're weapon-like plants that grow and sustain in hostile environments. With them, we can push the Risen out of Murkvale. What's the catch? The magical soil they grow in attracts Zhaitan's corruption. If you can find the soil in the swamp, clear the corruption so that the plant can grow. So basically, your companion seems worried about you. He must be mistaken. I've never seen an Asura worry about anything except the research. His efforts to keep the area safe while I work are appreciated, though. Okay, so basically the idea is you can create plant turrets of the Sylvari here. Very similar to some of the ones we see very early in the game, to be honest, to help fight back some of the undead, and if you do enough of it, you can complete this heart here. We're not going to allow ourselves to get too distracted here if some kind of big attack actually is about to strike Fort Trinity. But you know, it's pretty much everything on this area of the coast, which we are really, really close to now, is swamped with undead and is about undead. So yeah, we have still not even seen the volcano, but don't worry guys, there's a lot of Mount Maelstrom and opportunity to see more Mount Maelstrom as we go further forward. Here in the far side of the map, we've got the Merc Vale, and here you can see a very small packed base. You notice all the NPCs here are level 70, and these will warn any player at this point in the map, in the game, that if you are not a high enough level yet, that you have not adventures enough yet, they will tell you to stay the hell back. This is really the boundary. What do we have, an Arcanist?
Rely on your knowledge.
Hail, adventurer. Beyond here lies Fort Trinity, and the beginning of our campaign against Zhaitan's forces in his own territory. What's your role here? My job is to warn inexperienced adventurers like you, hey, not like me, no, to stay away from here. This is not the place to make a name for yourself against our Aurian enemies. You'll die, giving our foes another risen soldier, and they do not mess around. I like this as well because the Sylvari possibly don't have social graces really worked out very well, so she's happy to say, oh yeah, you'll die if you go back there. I see. Tell me more about this place. The Pact created Fort Trinity as a staging point for offensives into Ore. Corrupted numbers haven't been this large in centuries. but we're ready to fight for our survival. Whoa, okay. Okay. I mean, think about Zaitan. We're going to a nation that was at war with tons of char and humans everywhere, got blown up, nuking them all, spent ages underwater, possibly any kind of number of fish bodies and things growing up there, and then that was all just corpses and things ripe for him to collect before he started expanding over the past 100 years or so. Some backup would be appreciated. I'm not going to talk to you. You're later on in the timeline. Okay. This is it, guys. And you notice there's like a blue tint to some of the packed stuff right now. Maybe we'll learn about that too. Welcome, guys. Trahan's mentioned this place many times, to the Straits of Devastation. The Straits of Devastation separate the Tyrian mainland from the dragon-corrupted wasteland that was once the human nation of Or. Oh, that chill in the air. Here we are. So starting off at Thorn Pass Waypoint. Now, ahead of us, you can see a mighty fortress. This was one of the most mind-blowing things for me when I first played Guild Wars and I explored here. I actually skipped ahead of the story the first time I played this game and got to this map. So it kind of blew my mind to see what this was and learn what it, how it had been created at the, the formation of the Pact. Now, I'll note that there are actually 2 entrances to the map. We're kind of in the side entrance right now. Later, we will see the primary entrance as well, which you even notice up here there's a scout, but all in due time. This is a fairly reasonable entrance as well, and since we've got to be quick again to Fort Trinity, I think this is okay. So check it out, there's an agent. Hello, what am I looking at here?
Who's the target?
Welcome to the front lines. You look like you could use some direction. What is going on around here? Fort Trinity is the Pact's main base for the assault on Zaitan. From here, our forces are fighting for a foothold in Or. What can I do to help the effort? We're simultaneously launching 3 invasions. You can join up with one of those units. Wow, okay, thanks. I'll see what I can do. We'll learn more about those invasions as time goes by, but again, we should probably keep getting a move on. And here, guys, this is it. The coast and across the waters. That's all. Okay, so you've got multiple different entrances to Fort Trinity. I will take this side bridge here. This will be our first route of entry to Fort Trinity, and hopefully many episodes down the line, you might see us use this bridge again. Here's the Squall Cusps, and as immediately you can see, there's some kind of dynamic event going on. Crusaders.
Place to set more traps.
There's always a place to set more traps.
Some Whispers agents defending. It's interesting to think of Whispers agents on guard duty. But this sight of NPCs rushing out is not a strange one. There are constantly NPCs moving in and out on all different entrances and exits of the fort. And what's beautiful about Guild Wars 2, right? Guild Wars 2 was all about dynamic events, about the quests and things you're doing are real and have a real impact. And it's true. When you see NPCs walking around Fort Trinity, they are going to real events. They are delivering real supplies to real bases that can fall or be captured via either the Pact or the undead, okay? So it's all like actual stuff going on. None of it's really spoofed, and it's beautiful. So, you know, if I followed right there in this video, we could end up in all kinds of territories. I'm not going to, though.
Now, this is interesting.
Ah, this is interesting, isn't it? Fort Trinity. And immediately you'll notice that there's a different aesthetic going on here. This is Pact engineering. This is what you get when you take the brains of the 5 races, various technologies and understandings of lesser races too, and you slam it all together.
Come on! I'm warmed up!
There's a Norn challenging us there, which I guess we won't deal with too much. What exactly the nature of this blue energy and magic is, I'm not sure Tyrix really gets the full picture right now, but hey, maybe in time. There we can grab the first waypoint. That's the Fort Trinity waypoint. This place is a lot like Ebonhawk. It's huge. There's a ton of different stuff going on. For example, at any moment, you can kind of just sort of wander and say, we can go down this ramp here. And, oh look, there's a bay down here where there's a submarine docked, and there's various NPCs we can talk to. Another one of the Iron Barracudas. So here's Captain Ant J. Do you own this sub? We can maybe assume that these subs go to places like we were just a second ago with Johan. In fact, let me show you. We saw an undead ship here, right, at the Maya Sea. Just to clarify, Zaitan could potentially scout this entire coast with his ships. And, you know, send them all the way out. Many miles of coastline, I like to imagine. But he could have easily done that, and it seems what he did. He wormed all the way around here just because we were looking into Siska. Okay, so we're fairly proud of our powerful fleet of submarines. They have a whole fleet of them, guys. Zaitan won't see these babies coming. These craft are amazing. Is that char engineering? The first subs were built by the Char, to be sure, but their designs were improved on by pack engineers of all races. So what's the plan for using these against ore? I can't divulge too much about our invasion plan, but I'm sure you can see the advantage of an underwater approach. I see what you mean, good luck. What do you mean you can't divulge? To me? I'm the pack commander, goddammit. Alright, maybe later they'll divulge that. Okay, so yeah, we won't speak to every single NPC, as there are a ton. While they have submarines for naval assaults, there appears to be an airship over there for airborne ones. It's, you know, we're hitting them on all fronts. And a lot of this game is now going to be dealing with the logistics of this and what we've built. I do want to show you guys a very special place here with possibly my favorite concept art in all of Guild Wars 2. This place here, Care Aval. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh my god, listen, you get one impression of what Fort Trinity is from the game and the game's graphics and how the game can give it to you. Look at that concept art. I just want you to imagine you're reading a novel or something and it's depicting this story. This is Fort Trinity, how my mind likes to imagine Fort Trinity. Look how vast and insurmountable and incredibly proficient this place looks. Right, so, Care Aval, here it is. You might recognize that. That sounds fairly Silvari, doesn't it? Yeah, that's Welsh. Remember, many of the little outposts and things that the Silvaris build, they're called cares and stuff. Translated directly, I think that this basically means Apple Fortress.
Bye-bye.
And what you'll notice here on the world map is we got all these red lines. We're in an instance. This is like the Hero's Canton back in the Black Citadel, or it's like the Vigil Keep. These are instances where the devs can change the NPCs that appear here, and it can reflect as our story goes on. It's like our home instance, but later on in the game. And so right now, when we enter it, it's in one way, but depending on our choices, on who survives and who dies, the NPCs we find here can update and change and reflect that. So right now, what have we got? Well, check it out. Here's Izu's Steel Strike, the Master Blacksmith. By the way, do we count this as a typo? No capital M or B? Greetings, Commander. Look at these packed soldiers training. I'm going to keep making better weapons and armor to suit them. So we can assume that these craftsmen that were recruited way back when now, several weeks ago, at least in the timeline, they've been responsible for a lot of the marvels of construction we see around us. We can say, hey, can I buy some weapons? He says, well, that honor belongs to Quartermaster Hargrave. You'll find him near Traherne. And indeed, Traherne is actually up it. That's amazing. Traherne's here? Oh, we're not actually in the story, are we? No, we're not in the story. I didn't think that Traherne would be here right now. Before I record these episodes for you guys, but behind the scenes, I scout things out and look ahead on alternate characters on my account. And when I did it before, Traherne was not here. That's kind of crazy. We'll go up and speak with him. Because the idea of the story is to meet him right now, and this isn't technically where we should be meeting him. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, these guys are fighting. They're practicing. You've got Izu here. Not really many other recognizable characters just yet. And Quartermaster Hargrave himself, who said he has weapons. I'm Quartermaster Hargrave at your service. I've got weapons for you if you've got the proper title and rank. That is. Can't give these beauties to just anyone you know. Alright, maybe later. It's actually him that sells packed weapons, which we will be kitting ourselves out in. It's just the feature is supposed to unlock a little bit later in the story here. So yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of Care Aval. There's 3 little kitty cats up here. What does Traherne say? I'm too curious. I must know. He says, salutations. My apologies for being so brief. There is much yet that must be done. All right, don't worry. We'll meet you in the proper place at the proper time in a second. There's 3 cats here. These things are pretty interesting. You can walk up to them, press F and play with them. So you got Harley, you got Leo, and you got Maddie. I believe some people have basically said these are like Traherne's cats. Not that we've seen them anywhere else in the story. I don't know. If you like cats, I guess it's fun. As kind of almost a bit of a cat ourselves, maybe we enjoy it. It's nice that you can play with them and make them roll around. A bit of the behind the scenes from the devs' end. There was found on the internet a Tumblr page associated with one of the many Guild Wars 2 launch developers. And on that random Tumblr page, this developer had posted a screenshot of those cats and said, hey, when I was working on Guild Wars 2, I put these cats here because they are cats that died during development. Remember, this game took many years to come out, and many of the different employees had pets that passed away. So the 3 cats you see there, they're all named for real ones that existed in the real world and passed away, and they'll be forever memorialized. That's kind of beautiful, isn't it? Right, okay, cool. So, a ton more to explore here. This is the Alistar Generator. and it's doing something with all this blue magic. Christ knows what. Over here, we find something else very special. Well, lots of things, actually. There are scouts. So, scouts are really cool in the later maps of the game, because if I press M here, if you look at our map objectives, most of the way through Guild Wars 2, a big thing you do to level up and get map exploration are renown hearts, and I've shown you a ton of them. There are no renown hearts when you get to the truly end game open world stuff for the release of the game. They're not here. It's all dynamic events, it's all metas, it's all real tangible stuff going on, and because there aren't hearts, there's about 1 million more points of interest to find, hero challenges to complete, and waypoints to gather as well, to, you know, as long as you can unlock them from completing the events. So, yeah, without any hearts, you might wonder, what are the scouts for? Well, the scouts now take a different role. They're instead going to teach you about the status and where to access the metas and invasions. So, for example,
Pact War Master Shadow Striker is leading the northern invasion of Ore. He aims to assault Brass Claw Landing with submarines and Golem-launching cannons, and establish a beachhead on Ore's coast. A strong base there will guarantee our soldiers continued access to the Dragon's territory.
So it says the aim of the northern invasion is to claim Brass Claw Landing and establish a foothold for additional pack troops. And you get all that little bit of extra information there. That's what the scouts are for. And there's 3 of them because there's going to be a multi-pronged invasion on across the Straits. So that's all very well and exciting. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but I mean, we're at Fort Trinity, so it's kind of time to show off. It feels so surreal that we're here, guys. That's the cool thing number 1. Another cool thing is over here. You'll notice some Surrogate, and here we find the resolution to a mystery that's been fairly long-standing. Kind of. I'm going to sequence break the game a little bit here. So here's a Pact Surrogate guard. And she says, access to the Pact Surrogates is restricted to high-ranking members, and we can't get through. Technically, we should only be allowed to go behind this gate in a little bit in the story, probably right after this next step. But I want to show you, just for the sake of how the mechanics work, because it is very, very, very interesting, how this works. Now, if I come onto this tent here, we can say, screw you to your rules, Pact people. And if I can get on top of this tent, which is really kind of tricky. Hold on, let me get on this, and then on this, and then on this. If we go to our sword, our Lion Guard sword, and we leap savagely, we can actually land over here, and we can bypass their gate and their rules. You see that there's a golem back here. And look at this, guys. There's a Vigil Crusader, a Whispers Agent, a Dermond Priory Arcanist, and you find 3 Surrogates. 1 to the Vigil Keep, 2 to the Order of Secrets. Jesus Christ, the Chantry of Secrets, the Order of Secrets, and 3 to the Dermond Priory. Now, let's pick Priory as a sort of an example here. If we walk on through, yeah, you guessed it, those mysterious gates we've been finding at each of the core regions and their headquarters. I think this is the first time Tyrix has ever been to this area of the Shiver Peaks Mountains, by the way. We're now allowed through it. It's transportation to and from Fort Trinity from our headquarters, which is so cool. Now, the story never, like, ping-pongs us back and forward. Like, we don't liaise with Almora and then Traherne at the Fort Trinity and then back to Almora. It's an interesting idea. The game doesn't really do it. And because of waypoints and how cheap waypoints ended up, and the devs never cared to balance the waypoint economy, no one really ever uses these gates. But it is interesting that they're there. And what's also really fascinating is, if you think about it, this is Lion's Arch with the Surrogate hub at Lion's Arch. Well, the Keep is really close to LA, the Priory is really close to LA, and the Chantry of Secrets is really close to LA. So no matter what route you go through the game, eventually you will unlock access from, you know, Divinity's Reach, Gate to LA, Gate straight all the way down to the south. And you can kind of do that fast travel for 0 cost once you are far enough in the story. And I can imagine another way that this game could have been built as an RPG, where that was a prominent thing lots of players did. Anyway, so yeah, look, check it out. We just got fast tracked to the Dermond Priory. Another really fun little thing, because I'm a bit of a nerd for this kind of stuff. This surrogate access. Now that we're on the other side of the fence, when we press F on it, it says these doors are shut tight, and we can say to go through the doors, and it knocks us through them. What's really kind of interesting, and then there's the gate guard here. What's really interesting is, because I've done this a bit early in the story, we're still technically not allowed to go into those gates. So this dialogue still says it's under construction, check in later. And when we come up to the gate here, it says this is closely guarded, speak to the guard to enter. What fascinates me as a stupid Guild Wars nerd is that this is a single interactable object that contextually changes based on what side of the gate you're on. If you're on this side of the gate, it says this. If you're on the other side of the gate, it says something different, as was demonstrated a second ago. And that's kind of funny. I've never really seen ArenaNet, the developers, utilize that, like contextually changing environmental stuff based on position ever again. But yeah, it's used here. And now, because I've kind of broken the game a little bit, we do have to waypoint back to Fort Trinity. So I'll see you guys in a second. So there you have it. That's the Asura Gate trivia. That's why I broke the sequence, just to give you that silly little bit of mechanics. There's multiple vendors here at Fort Trinity as well. This guy says, Fort Trinity shall never fall to the Risen, not as long as the Priory, Vigil, and Lord of Whispers stand together. Have you anything that might interest me? And he actually sells various pact-related things. Check it out. You can get some accessories here that really buff your stats, because they're getting high level 71 stuff. And look, this is a signed pact agreement, which says we've printed extra copies of this agreement in case any disagreements come up in the field. This way, we're all on the same page. You've got Trinity Rifles, a weapon for fusing everything together into a single desperate shot into the dark night. Oh, what a great... The Trinity Shield, may it protect you as it protects Tyria. Badass. And there's even some other items as well, which we'll deal with as, and hopefully we will get deeper into ore. Getting on the borders is one thing. Getting further forward is a whole other. And this seems somewhat tenuous if Trahearne was right that this place is about to be attacked.
Starting to like this.
It's just like home. We're surrounded by angry punks all spoiling for a fight.
There you go. So check it out. These are the Fort Trinity docks, and you can see there's a friggin' Risen ship staged just outside straight away. You can even get on these cannons, and you can fire them. That wasn't very impressive sounding. I'm sure Ghost Spell technology is being utilized somewhere up here. We've got some other guys, Scholar Cratebane, Harbour Master Quickbite. Many of these will just be giving us relevant information about the various assaults and what's going on in defenses. So we won't worry about that just too yet. We won't worry about that too much just yet. God, I'm finding it really hard to speak today. Instead, let's move out the front of the fort. And here's one of the other entrances where the story wants us to begin. Are we ready to meet Trahearne properly this time at the Battle of Fort Trinity? I think we are. Whew. And much like our adventures on Claw Island and some of the other big prominent moments of the game, this is going to be a long one, guys. So buckle up. Fort Trinity. Hi, guys.
Commander, good to see you. Marshal Trahearne is waiting for you.
Is he? Okay, thank you. So there's an initiate, pact, vigil.
The crate orb we recovered is fascinating. It literally prevents the dead from rising again.
Then I wish we had 100 of them. How does it work? Can we replicate it?
Not so far. The only thing we know for sure is that it's steeped in powerful magic.
As long as it works, we can figure out why it works when the war is over.
Zaitan's forces are coming. Why aren't the Asura gates functional?
I'm sorry, Marshal. We can't seem to isolate the problem.
It could be our proximity to ore. Or maybe we've got the saboteur.
This is critical. Without those gates, we're cut off from any reinforcements.
Alright, okay, so lots of conversation. Trahearne has been busy. There's loads of different things going on here that we really don't know about. I love seeing them escorting supplies and things down there. We've got a ton of troops. What was that about a blue orb? That seems pretty mysterious. And a saboteur? Well, I might have something to say about that, at least. Siska, are you guys thinking it too?
I'm impressed. This place was already formidable, but you're making it even stronger.
I hope so. We've seen a huge increase in undead activity while we've been establishing our defenses. I believe a major attack is imminent. All the signs are there. Our outermost defenses have suffered a series of probing attacks, and we've lost several long-range scouts. We recovered a powerful magical orb from the depths and explosives from our top demolitionist. But there have been some disturbing glitches in communication. Fort Trinity is not yet secure. Worst of all, our Asura gates aren't functioning, and nobody can tell me why. Magical or mechanical failure? Saboteurs? It's all very disturbing. I want you to double-check our defenses, starting with the lumber camp. They've lost a lot of workers, and we need that timber. You take point.
Oh, okay. I hope to. My God, yeah, there is a lot going on here. So,
guides you.
the Asura gates, man, they were working a second ago. We weren't away for too long, were we? When we left the fort and came back. He says there's too much to do. With many of our resources dedicated to the Asura gate problems and the mystery of the Crate Orb, our defensive preparations are lacking. I love what the story does here as well. It shows just how amazingly crazy it is to have an Asura gate in wartime. An Asura gate in wartime, that is infinite reinforcements and supplies from, you know, what I just described about the Black Citadel being connected to Lion's Arch, being connected here. It's crazy, the amount of stuff you can get. Obviously, Zhaitan is going to seek to shut those down, and it seems some saboteur, Siska, has figured out how to do it. With many of our resources dedicated to the Asura gate problems, the mystery of the Crate Orb, our defense preparations are lacking. I have some questions. I'll bring you up to speed on our situation, but make it fast. We're running out of time. What's wrong with the gates? If they stay functional at all, they malfunction. Oh god, maybe they were malfunctioned before we went through it. I hesitate to call it sabotage, but with so much on the line, I have to assume it's more than another logistical foul-up. Yeah, me too. Do you think there's a Mesmer involved here too, Trahearne? Yes. You discovered Mesmer illusions were involved in the problems at War Master Kaysen's camp. I fear we may have a similar situation here, or not the exact same situation, no. After we finish, we will settle up with Siska. Exactly. We cannot hope to function effectively if Zhaitan's illusion-casting moles are constantly undermining our progress. I love this so much. Yeah, okay, so we'll deal with whatever's going on here, then straight back to Siska. Got it. What's this orb? Tell me about this orb. Its presence prevents Zhaitan's magic from reanimating any nearby dead. And that's all we know about it. It's quite a mystery. Huh. And it's one worth solving after Fort Trinity is safe. Do we have enough heavy explosives for this? We do, thank the Mother Tree. I had the Pact's finest demolitionists working around the clock. So that's at least one thing we've got covered. Huh. I seem to remember something about a demolitionist a few videos ago, huh guys? Okay, thanks. That's all I need. You want me to go check out the lumber then at a logging camp? You'll notice now many of the gates are shut in defense and preparation. And you'll also notice that the very striking blue glow that was running through much of the fort is now not functioning or working correctly, which could mean we are quite vulnerable. So, join me next time, guys, as we head out into the perimeter of the fort to see what some of the supplementary forces and logistical things and camps around here are dealing with, and maybe to help protect this place if a big attack well and truly is actually coming. Amazing stuff having gone on here, guys. We're nearly there, but we're going to get punished for being so close to ore. I'll see you next time.
Do you think it's true? A city of the gods at the heart of ore?
Ancient legends about Ara won't matter if we're mired in undead detritus.
Burgill's Sunfire makes a good point. Says, I assumed that the script's quiet subjects were corpses of the Pact. You might be right about that. Some of you could question as well whether the script is relating to the personal story at all, since usually they're very separate. But I really think that that script is talking about specifically stuff to do with Siska. But yeah, it's probably the corpses, right? I mean, that would make sense to random players not doing this story step. They get to go and see the bodies. And again, it's an illusion, right? And mesmer magic. Guild Wars 2 is kind of conflicted on how this works. But in theory, it should only exist inside Tyrix's mind, and the script wouldn't have a clue. He really did just see us freak out at that cave, wander around for a bit, and come back, maybe. So yeah, I like this. They were the corpses, not the illusions, and not the Devourers.